Welcome to the Crazy Wisdom Podcast. My guest today is Ekue Kpodar. He is into software plus marketing plus complex systems, and he also does data science and modeling, and he's obsessed with modeling. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on your show.
So yeah, I think we first connected based on knowledge management systems and graph things. Let's start there with the knowledge management graphs. Like what was your understanding of knowledge management and graphs?
Sure. So I think like when you initially messaged me on the same day, I think I saw like another guy on LinkedIn that was talking about like how can I retrain like 1,000 people? And I was like, I saw like you, I kind of like went on your website because I'm like super curious, and then I saw that you were doing like knowledge graph stuff and AI stuff. So like I was thinking like if you have a knowledge management system and a learning management system, and you incorporate like the knowledge graph of like something I know versus like what I should know. If you like subtract
Oh,
both, you should be able to like retrain people fast, even if it's like 1,000 people.
that's a brilliant idea. And I moved on from that particular role. But that's a very good idea. How do you determine what somebody should know? I guess I can extrapolate from what I do, and because I've been thinking of either automating what I do for each one of these podcasts or hiring someone to do it. And I guess it's just by the fact of doing the job, then you can train the system. Is that right?
Yeah. So I guess a good approach would be like if you use like a LLM plus like a knowledge graph, and like the knowledge graph is gonna like generate like structured knowledge about the physical world, and then the LLM is just gonna like generate like explanatory like knowledge about the world. If you could combine both, it'll be useful. So like you could like generate like questions that like you want your employees to know, and then like versus the actual knowledge that they have. And if you like have a knowledge graph, you could like kind of like subtract both of them, and the differential will be like what they need to know. And you could like have AI generate like content to teach them.
Yeah.
There's like a website called like Unschool that like I think it's called like Unschool.ai. And it basically like if you plug in something, it generates like a course for the topic. And I think like that's the future of learning. So like you use
So can you repeat the name of that company? I searched on Google, but I couldn't find it.
I think it's called
Unschool.
Unschool.ai. Yeah.
Great name. Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Uh, Unschooler.me. Maybe. So there might, okay, there's a few. So it might be Unschooler to me. I'm going to make a note to go find it. Um, um, okay. So that's a really good point. Knowledge graph, we've got reality, and then we've got our model of reality and how to align those two and then train it. I really like this idea because it's essentially like, the companies have done what you're talking about. Like it's a very, very well-known thing that they do, which is they hire teams to develop documentation, not only on the technical stuff, but also on how to do the job, like education within companies. And it needs to be bespoke for every company. And a lot of the companies don't have the best writers because they're not really necessarily looking for the best writers. They're looking for the people who can explain technical concepts.
Yeah.
And AI, I think, there's like probably 20% of those people who are really, really good at their jobs and make it entertaining and interesting and everything like that. But I would probably say 80% of them are not that good. And AI could beat those 80%. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
So, okay, well, how did you get into AI? So you're into data science and modeling. When did you first start getting into data science?
Oh, like I guess like when I like so I guess like I'll explain it a little bit like do like maybe when I was like a teen or whatever. But I guess like so the way I got into like tech is like so there was a website like you might see like this like researcher, her name is like ready, like I'll like send you the link to her
Sure.
profile, but like it's ready read, and like she like I around like 2014 I was like maybe like a senior in high school, and like she created like a platform that lets you like I guess like tweet, and then you get paid for the tweet,
Oh,
and somehow like in high school, like I was like super into like modeling. So like I had like a few million followers on Twitter before it became X. And then like I guess like if you have a lot of followers, you could like monetize them. And I just like tried it once. The website was called like mylikes.com. I went in
Uh,
2015. And
uh-huh.
then I was able to like make like maybe $100 to like $300 a day when I wanted to. And it was interesting. So I just built like a lot of followers. I had like I think like 5 million followers.
You
And
had
I was
five
just like,
million followers on Twitter?
yeah, like around like 2015.
Wow.
And
What happened?
then oh like so I use it to like send like website traffic. And then like like if you're doing YouTube or AdSense,
Yeah.
AdSense, they'll pay you by like how many thousands of views you get. So I'll be able like usually was able to like get like thousands of views a day. So like if you bring in like maybe 5,000 views times the RPM is like $20, you make $100 that day.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. That's
So,
why I got like yeah.
but you don't have 5 million followers now on Twitter, or do you? Or do you still have that account?
Like I have another account that has like maybe like 20,000 followers, and then I have like another few Instagram account that have like one has like 120,000 followers, and then like the other one has like almost 200,000 followers. But like the thing is like I like stop posting on them, so like
Uh-huh.
I'll like show you, but like it's like the engagement might be low because like for example like the applied insight
Oh.
one is it's been like 2 years, so like I'll post on it and then people will ask me like, did you die or something? Yeah, and then post and then the other one, yeah. And then they're just like it will maybe take like a few months for me to like make it like active again. But
Interesting.
it's like yeah.
So
So that's mhm.
yeah, there's a lot of threads there because we can talk about the relationship between data science and getting a lot of followers on social media. Is it because
Yeah.
of your data science understanding and modeling that you were able to get so many followers, or are those two disconnected?
It's like not disconnected. So like so basically getting a lot of followers is like a combination between like aggregation theory and like just modeling complex systems. So like aggregation theory is like in the marketplace, the person that like gathers the most value gets the most like
Oh.
followers. So like for example, like a grocery store is like in physical space, it aggregates physical goods. So like we go there because like it has a lot of products that we want. And it's the same with like ideas and like academic stuff. And then for like modeling stuff, I got into like modeling stuff because like when I was like I guess like 15 or 14, my dad got like prostate surgery and then like I wanted to like be in like robotics and like there's like a machine that does it's called like Da Vinci and it's like super automated. So like I wanted to like build that stuff. And and then like then I found figure out oh like I guess like if you're good at modeling stuff, you could like kind of like get paid by just building like automated systems, and then like you
Uh-huh.
basically like if you're good at it, you could probably make money when you're sleeping. So I'm like, I want to do this, and I'm good at this, so let me just combine both.
That's interesting. I really liked what you said about the person that aggregates the most value ends up getting more followers. This obviously gets into philosophical territory about what value is, because some people value things that other people don't. And then there are obvious truths, and then there are obvious lies. It's my personal opinion that the obvious lies are the ones who get most popular somehow.
Yeah,
And so, and so there's obvious truth, which is valuable to some people if they don't know how to uh, I don't know how to say that. And then there's unobvious truth, and then there's like painful truth. And painful truth is very generally very unpopular. But for a certain segment of the population, very small, it's extremely valuable because those people have already learned through repetition that like it's the painful truth is the one you need to look at. What do you think of that?
Yeah, so I guess like value and like most I guess value in most domains that it's not like physics, math, or like engineering. It's like social sciences is like
Yeah,
subjective, but
yeah,
but you don't want to just like
yeah,
say like just because it's subjective, I'm gonna reject the idea because like the reason why it's like social sciences is like subjective is because like this concept called emergence
yeah,
happens in those like fields. So like it's basically like when you have like at a macro level, if you have a couple of things, you could use reductionism to fund the principles, but like at the higher level, at the macro level, emergence happens. So like you might not know like the cause of the stuff, but it happens. Just like how, like for example, like ChatGPT, they're scaling compute data and algorithms to make the AI. And like the same thing happens like with the human brain. So like a couple of neurons doesn't give you intelligence or consciousness, but if you scale it up, like our evolutionary architecture, you end up having like intelligence, consciousness, and like I guess emergent behaviors that like at a macro level you couldn't predict.
brilliant. Okay, so scale, emergence, evolution, consciousness. Let's get into it. Right into it. Do you think that the AI is conscious?
Um, like like I don't think it's conscious because like from what I've researched so far, the only architecture that produces consciousness is like biological. And like
Ooh,
I asked like ChatGPT a lot,
yeah.
and like it always tells me that like if you ask it like the silicon-based architecture produce consciousness, like I'm not sure. Like so far, the only consciousness in the universe has been biological. So like
So wait, you asked ChatGPT, is the silicon architecture capable of creating consciousness? And it said, I don't know, or you said, I don't know.
like so it basically said like so far through like all human knowledge, all that we
Yeah, okay,
observe
got it. Yeah.
biological, yeah. And like I kind of like feel like you kind of need like biological architecture too, because
Yes.
like
Yeah.
for example, like a computer or super like the fastest computer in the world was like the frontier computer, and like the only thing it needs is like energy and like maybe yeah, it just needs energy to like fuel its intelligence. But like we're like humans, so like we need like intelligence, consciousness, like society, and like a
Yeah.
group
Yeah,
to, like
interesting.
function.
Because consciousness in us didn't just evolve as individual being, like, well, maybe it did, who
Yeah,
knows, but what, like, not just one guy woke up, he's like, oh, I'm conscious, those guys aren't conscious anymore, like, and what I mean by conscious here is that like animals also have consciousness as well, so it's like
yeah. So
then there's
like
the,
I guess like so like I guess like the concept behind it explains like theory of mind is basically like how you think about yourself, how you think about yourself in a group, and how you think about yourself in a bigger group.
yeah.
It's like the theory of like yeah. So I guess like we evolved that because like a evolutionary pressure to fit in a group, but like computers don't have that because like they're just moving data.
Mm. Because at that level, then the concept of an individual doesn't exist. Well, so it would, well, no, it would be the foundational model itself would be the equivalent to an individual. Do you agree or disagree?
Like I think that I would disagree because like ChatGPT and LLMs, they just like they could like reason for like every like I guess like all the subjects that the big companies feed it, but like at an individual level, you just like based on your culture, you've been like programmed by like society evolution and like
Mm.
your genetic material to like be a certain way. But like, I guess like another way I'll explain is like ChatGPT is just like a language model, and like language is like simultaneously constraining, and it gives you options because
Right.
like without language we won't like humanity would not be like that advanced. There was like I think like six different human species, and we just like end up being like the ones that were most
Wait, there were,
social.
oh yeah, that's right. There was the
Yeah,
Neanderthals, the Homo sapiens, the Devonesians and a few other ones, right? That's what you're
Yeah,
talking about? Okay.
yeah.
Um, yeah. This is such an interesting conversation. I really like what you said about biological architecture, that as a necessity for consciousness. And I agree with you there. And now I think I have a strong argument for why I agree with it. And uh, but then that leads to the next question, which is, augmentation, human augmentation. I think both of us may agree that the real point of AI is human augmentation rather than artificial intelligence. Here, artificial intelligence meaning a new form of intelligence that is separate from humans. And I think it's going to be more about a human augmentation thing. What's your take? Is it human augmentation? Is it artificial intelligence? What's going on?
Like, I guess like I feel like it's both because like human
Mm.
augmentation like I guess throughout like history, if you like even look at like cavemen, like they use tools to augment their abilities, and it's not just like a human thing. Just like I think like using tools to augment your abilities is like every animal with consciousness and intelligence does it. Like I think I saw some like crows are able to like use tools to like solve problems, and like monkeys like use tools to like solve problems. So it's not like just
Yeah,
um
got it. Yep.
us that do it, but like I guess like the only difference between us and other people is we're able to do like large scale cooperation. So like
Yep.
a company, a company with like 1,000 or tens of thousands of people solving a particular problem, but like other animals are not able to do that because of like their evolutionary trajectory. And for like I guess like the other way where it just becomes more advanced over time by itself, that's gonna like happen too. But I guess like but like I guess when you talk about it, it's always like it's a zero-sum game between people and like AI system, but I don't think it has to be that way. It could be like the the amount of like intelligence like increases over time, but like it might not be biological, it might be silicon based. Because like for example, like if we actually like try to go on Mars, like our biological architecture wouldn't like survive there well because like we've
Mm,
been programmed by evolution to live on Earth. So like if we send a robot to Mars or to
mm.
the moon, it'll be like better because like it's not like constrained by I guess like the atmospheric gravity and like needing to like maybe consume like food the way we do. It just needs energy and like intelligence.
That's very interesting. It reminds me of the book Seven Eves by Neil Stevenson, a cyberpunk book that I would recommend to anybody. I won't give any spoilers, but basically it posits, what on long time scales in space travel, how will humans evolve according to the environment of space and also other planetary objects and even our own planet. Um, and so yeah, for that strain, I would recommend that book, but I won't give away the spoilers. Um, what are you most excited about AI? What are you doing right now? If you can talk about it, if you can't talk about what you're doing professionally, that's totally fine. But what are you most excited about?
Like right now, like I just like I'm not like I'm excited about like working on AI agents and like AI becoming like autonomous because like it can like
Uh-huh.
solve like a lot of problems
Yeah.
because I guess like in the like past economies like we were like limited by like I guess like economically speaking we're always like limited by like energy and intelligence because you
Yes.
need intelligence to solve problems and you also need like like energy to solve problems. I was like watching like the Merck, like the Facebook owner interview yesterday, and he was like saying like one of the bottlenecks that we like I don't know how many years, but like I think 5 to 10 years. I think like the government around the world might actually start selling tech companies like you're using too much energy because like
Yeah. Yes.
for
Interesting.
example, yeah, like so for example, the electricity in the US. I know you're like in Argentina, but like in the US, maybe like half of it comes from natural gas. And like in the energy market, it takes like maybe 5 to 10 years to develop capacity.
Whoa.
So yeah. So it's like I think even like I think AWS started like developing like nuclear power plants by its like data centers because like the one of the constraining factor for like AI in the future is probably just gonna be like energy because it is like really energy consuming. I was watching a bit like so like the best supercomputers in the world is called like Frontier, and it could do what like 8 billion people could do, 8 billion people calculation in like 4 years in like maybe a few seconds. But like the
Mm.
limiting factor is like energy because like it requires like you to like build like a nuclear reactor next to it
Well,
because it
that's what I've been thinking is it's all headed to nuclear power, either whether China does it or whether we do it. The end
yeah
game is going to be nuclear power. There's no, based on what you just said, and also the fact that Bitcoin exists. Like I just don't, now because what the interesting thing that Bitcoin does is that it ties together energy and money in a way that kind of existed before with the U.S. government once they removed gold from as a standard, um, but so nuclear power, like it doesn't, I don't see a future in which nuclear power doesn't play a role except a future of extreme poverty for everyone on the planet. Like, what do you think?
yeah yeah like so like I guess like I've been studying like the energy market to like not lesson, but like the argument always like but it's always like the develop they always pit like the developed world against like the
Yeah,
developing world.
yeah, yep.
And it's like it's like it makes things worse because like everyone needs to like have more energy at an increasing rate.
Mhm.
And it's always like, for example, like the green movement, they were like against nuclear like power, but then like Germany implemented their like strategy, and then like the Ukraine war happened,
Yeah.
and like I think like Germany will be like at the brink of failure if they
Yeah.
keep like doing stuff like that, and like we just need like energy, like in the developed world and in the developing world because like if we don't do that, then like there's gonna be like a migrant crisis like the one that's going on right now, and it's
Uh,
gonna make everything worse.
I'm gonna tweet a question right now. How long will it take Germany to turn into a failed state or choose sanity in terms of energy production? Like it feels like that's going to be an important topic for the future. Um, okay, now let's get into what we talked about before we started, which is you were curious about uh, Argentina and Bitcoin and other things. What makes you curious?
Oh, like so, like I think in South America, Argentina probably like, has like one of the highest like inflation rates, and
Mm,
like there's like a lot of countries in South America, like Venezuela, they have like a lot of natural resources, and
hmm
like last year I went to like the EAU, and like they have natural resources too, but like I guess like what matters in like countries and like geopolitics is like the leadership because like for example the EAU and like Venezuela they both like have natural resources but like if you have a corrupt leadership or someone like just mismanage it like a lot of people are gonna suffer and like it doesn't have to be that way and like I see like in Argentina like Javier Milei is trying to like make changes and it might like so I guess there's like a long feedback loop between his decisions and like it starts taking effect. It might start taking effect in like maybe 5 years, but like I feel like it's Argentina is probably going in the right direction
mm.
because trying to like they're trying to like incentivize like good a leaner government and like innovation. And I guess and another thing why I asked you that before is because like so I live in the US and technically like the US banking system is like really
Mm.
stable.
Yeah.
I'm into Bitcoin because I'm like a technologist, but like I feel like if you're in the US you wouldn't need Bitcoin that much. But like if you live in like
Yeah.
the developing world, you might need it. Like for example, another analogy would be like Egypt, like because of the war, the Houthis like shooting ships down, like they have to like they devalued their currency maybe a month or two ago. So like if you own their currency, it's probably like $1 in their currency. It's probably like 75 cents now.
Yep.
And I just think about it like, what if your family, your whole family's assets or net worth is like in that currency and it gets devalued over time? That like that would not feel good.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so very good points, and we can get into all of that. I liked what you said about Argentina versus the U.S. banking system. If you're in the U.S., it doesn't really make sense to for Bitcoin, except as maybe as an investment vehicle, which was the way that I was thinking about Bitcoin. What plays an interesting role in this conversation is that I grew up in the Bay Area. I would say that I was strongly influenced when I was younger with both the Marxist tradition, coming from some family influences, and then neoconservative and neoliberal influences. And the neoliberal influences didn't really start to gain power until I would say 2006, 2007. Before that, the neocons were sort of like this new thing, which was like an early manifestation of whatever the neo stands for. And then the neo-libs took over, and then they allied with the Marxists, and so now if you had told me what I just said in 2020, before 2020, I would have been like, I don't really know about that. That's a little uncomfortable for me. Now I'm like, it's just like it's obvious to me. I accept questioning and skepticism, but like that is clear to me based on what happened in the pandemic. And so for me, it's been a strong break with my homeland. So what you said about the Bitcoin and the US government is an interesting thing, because I'm mostly in favor of Bitcoin, mostly as a hedge against the US government doing exactly what Argentina did in the 1960s. And that was when Perón got in control, and he was sort of Perón was the dictator in Argentina who was one of the it transcends normal political distinctions. So he had a conservative authoritarian government that also used the tactics of the welfare state. He's almost like the awkward opposite cousin of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who Franklin Delano Roosevelt was the American version of this that showed up really early, which is the first, like, let's use the welfare state to get us out of the Great Depression. There's a lot of things I think he did that were right, and also he set up the foundation for where our problems are right now, and those are the same problems that Argentina had in 1960s, being very early on this, which is unlimited money printing. Buy as many votes as you possibly can through the system. Basically, like, own democracy through the various loopholes in the system, by converting the welfare state into a political weapon. And that's where I see us right now. And Bitcoin for me is a hedge against that exploding. And I think that that's already been shown. The key question, as you mentioned, which I really like, which is that the US dollar is going to remain dominant for a very, very long time. And Bitcoin isn't competing with the US dollar now, might compete with it in the future. It's competing with every other currency, like the Argentine peso, which is now basically defunct. It's going away. What I like about Malay's policy in terms of that is that he's going to allow it to exist. He's going to allow it to continue to exist because he's a libertarian economist. So the peso will still be there, just nobody will buy it, because why would you, where the US dollar is there to compete? Hopefully that extends to Bitcoin as well. But now I've started to see some challenges. I actually just wrote about this on Notion. If anybody wants me to send them this article, I can send them. Just ask me, DM me on Twitter or whatever. And so I just wrote about this. Javier Milei is moving closer towards the neoconservatives. At first, I called it the neoliberals, but it's not the neoliberals, because his main beef is with the neoliberals in Argentina. His main beef is also kind of with the Marxists / neoliberals around the world, as evidenced by his speech in Davos, where he called them all out. But recently, he's moved closer to the neocons, who are, in my opinion, allied with the neoliberals. Like, it's all just one group of people who are all colluding together to enrich themselves. So I love that radical rant I just went on. Uh, so yeah, I lost my train of thought. What do you think? Do you have any follow-up questions? Anything you want to dig into?
Yeah, like I guess uh, like like everything you said so far is like right. Like um I guess the problem with inflation and like I guess the US government, like if you like study like US history, basically like
Yeah.
JP Morgan was like the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
Federal Reserve, and then they made the actual Federal Reserve in like 1913. But
Yeah.
then like the problems, like it like through like 1913 to like maybe two, oh, it's like President X couldn't be president. Like there wasn't like a big issue, but then like he took the U.S. off the gold standard, and then the Federal Reserve could like constantly like print money at its will when they wanted to.
Yeah.
That's what like it caused like that's what's causing the issue. But like I guess like if we could like reverse that political decision, the U.S. would be like
Mm,
the dominant power again. The US is like gonna be the dominant power for like I guess like the whole century, but like the world's becoming like more multipolar. So like there's gonna be the US and the G7s competing with the BRICS countries, which were like Brazil, Iran, and like emerging countries with like oil.
mm,
And then the other countries will probably be like there's a fight between the G7 and the BRICS countries. They're really like the the Ukraine war is about the fight, and then like the Houthis in the Middle East shooting ships down is about the fight, and like I guess like kind of like the Israel and Palestine is kind of about the same fight. So it's like the G7 is like the old established players in geopolitics versus like the new incumbent, and then the other countries are probably gonna be like, oh, like you guys are fighting each other, but like we don't really want to be a part of this.
mm.
So I'm just
It'll
thinking like
it'll kind of be like the Cold War again, and the neocons are really excited about this new Cold War. But I think it's going to play out very differently because that in that situation it was bipolar and with a lot of states who are just like I don't want anything to do with it, but they had to be a part of it. They were what's the word I'm looking for? They were co-opted or by the system itself, like the US and Russia both had significant power over all of the non-aligned countries as well. And they tried to do what they did. But now we're going to see real non-alignment in a multipolar geopolitical realm. The one issue, one danger, which there's nothing I can do about it. There's probably nothing you can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it, which is that in the multipolar world, those are traditionally the most dangerous. Moving from a unipolar to a multipolar world because the by the principles of power, when a large power descends, they start to act crazy, which has been happening. Like the U.S. has started to act crazy. Like maybe we can. I mean, there's a debate there. Like when did this begin? A lot of people say that it began in the 1960s or earlier, and so it's like we're entering this world that could be quite dangerous. But also, I think there's a lot of optimism and hope because we could talk about decentralization and centralization now too, because decentralization seems like it's our future. And this kind of the last 50 to 60 years of centralization in media, money, government is kind of a fluke. It feels like in terms of the long arc of history, because it feels like in the long arc of history, decentralization is the rule of the game. Well, that gets to entropy and emergence too as well, because like it's like a scale that goes back and forth. What do you think?
sure. So like for me like I'm conflicted on like like I guess I guess closed source and open source because like
Mm.
ideally like I use Linux and like every job you can have as a software developer, you're gonna like use like a server that uses Linux. And you could say like the reason why Linux is so good is because of open source, but then like and it was good like maybe in the 20th century, but like in the 21st century, like so I guess like I play around with technology stuff a lot. So after like LLMs is going to be large action models. Then there's going to be like generative
Oh.
biology, generative
Wait.
chemistry.
Large action models. That's I want to stop there. I also want to talk about the biology thing that you mentioned. Are you saying that whatever comes next after the LLM is going to be based on the autonomous agents and they're going to create whole models for that?
Yeah. So
Oh.
it's gonna be like large action models is probably gonna be like for like robotics and like agents doing like
Oh.
autonomous actions in the physical or the digital world. And like for example, like if like a LLM that's like an agent breaks a law in your country, like I don't know like how you solve that problem. Do you send them like a
Interesting.
piece in a this letter like your AI cannot operate in our geographic location, but like we have
It's going to be
VPNs, so like
decentralized though. It's just going to be decentralized because like if it is centralized, then it's going to get the U.S. Government's knock on the door saying turn that shit off. But
yeah,
if it's decentralized, then it's going to be like the what do you call it, the what happened with Tornado Cash, which was the U.S. government put them in jail by its alliances with the European jail, whoever owns it. So very interesting. I love this large action model. The
but
legal consequences. Go for it if you want. If you want to continue.
yeah, like so like I'm not really afraid of that one because like if it's like some actor like saying like making like a agent that does illegal stuff from like the dark web, like you could like investigate and get it shut down. Like I like generative chemistry and like generative biology is like scary to me because like for example, there was like a company that like created like used generative AI to create like 30,000 toxins and like a nerve agent poison. And I'm like,
Whoa. Wait, what's
I
this
do
called?
like I'm not like I'll send it to you after
Yeah.
this,
Okay.
but
Yep.
yeah. So it's basically like they were like a generative biology or chemistry company, and then they instead of like creating like so like maybe like cures, they switch it to produce toxins, and overnight or like a few hours they produce like 30,000. And like I support open source, but then when I
Yeah. There's a danger
like
there. There's
and
danger.
you close yeah
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
because you don't want like someone that's like there's 8 billion people in the world, and
Yeah.
there's probably one person that will want to like
That future's
generate that.
coming.
Yeah, like
That's the hardest part about this whole thing is that I don't think there's anything stopping that future because like it's going to be out there. People
yeah,
are like the open source models are there. They're going to be expanded. Yeah, they may be 6 months, 12 months past or behind OpenAI and Claude and Anthropic, but like they're coming. And the best we can do is just be smart about it. Something I've thought, I actually was just thinking about it today, was just like this podcast episode. I've said a lot of I don't think necessarily there. I've said a lot of inflammatory things if the people who are listening are of a different political persuasion than me. And so I've been saying things, and so far I live in America, or I'm sorry, I used to live in America. I live in Argentina now. Argentina also has less protections than the United States, but maybe in the future, hopefully more. Uh, and so but even if I were in the United States, the bad actors in the world who can sometimes be politically motivated uh, have a lot of means to attack me. And whenever I ask myself this question of like, is it important to continue saying the things that I do? It's like a yes, 100% yes. But at the same time, I can't be ignorant to if I do start to get a large following, then like various ways of getting attacked by toxins and such. Like it's we're just entering a crazy world, and this is where like divinity comes in for me. If I trust God, then whatever happens, and I can't really do anything about it. So, but yeah, it's an interesting thought. What do you think about that? We can move on to the biological systems too, if you want.
sure. So yeah, so I guess like after like so I guess like right now like there's like three industrial revolutions happening at the same time. It's like one AI robotics, and then like the other one that a lot of people don't know about is like biology.
Yeah.
Like stuff like CRISPR is like developing like really fast. So like I guess uh like I guess like in a few years you'll probably this one is like generative biology is like probably the most like when I don't think it'll probably like happen in the US because of the FDA,
Yep,
but
yep,
like
yep.
developing countries, people like if you have a lot of money, you could like probably just go set up like a clinic in the developing world and do like experiments, like, just like how people used to do in the past. But I guess it's like riskier because stuff like bioterrorism, for example, like the chemistry example we were talking about, someone could like literally like just generate like toxins, and then like there's something called like a DNA printer or like yeah.
Mm.
So there's gonna be a DNA printer soon. I don't know
Mm.
like how long it's gonna take, but like you could like generate molecules and like I guess like biological like systems. And if someone develop like some virus and releases it out in New York City, it'll do like a lot of damage. That's why like I kind of like support like open source. Like for some things like that, I'm like just close it. No, it doesn't really need to be messed with outside of
Mm.
like a big company like like yeah like a big company that does like pharmaceutical like genetic engineering.
Very interesting. How long, well, do you know of any companies that are doing DNA printers that are developing this technology?
Like there like I don't know one specific one off the top of my head, but like printing DNA is like over the last few years is it like it became possible, and like stuff like CRISPR you could like I guess like engineer like I guess biological systems or new chemicals, but like if you look into like future like maybe 5 or 10 years, you should be able to like have like a kit that generates like some protein or chemical in your like laptop, and then you should be able to like print it in the physical world.
So I just found I went on Perplexity and asked the same question, and I found Evonetics. Evonetics is one company mentioned that is developing a DNA synthesis device. So I'll follow up that. And for me, this is a very interesting question because I am I remember Francis Fukuyama is the first person who put this onto my radar in the 1990s. Actually, he wrote The End of History, which is there's a funny anecdote about him writing that book, The End of History, and then what happened in 2020. There's this great meme. Did you see this meme? Do you know what I'm talking about? No,
Mhm.
okay. So so End of History book. He didn't mean to say that it's the end of history. He actually had a thing, but everybody took it to mean that he's like, okay, neoliberal order one, it's over, guys. Like, let's go
Yeah.
back and end of history. It's all utopia now. And then 2020 comes, and he had this picture of him in a mask in a grocery store, and just being like totally just like freaked out by this thing. Is one of the best memes I've ever seen. I'll go find it again. But he introduced this idea, which is like genetic engineering, and this was in the 90s. So this was when the personal computing and internet was really getting strong. And he's like, genetic engineering is going to wipe these two technologies. Like it's going to be a much bigger thing that everybody should worry about. And I've had that in my mind the whole time. And so I'm like, I'm tracking this. And then 2020 came along, and then 2022 came along, and 2021 came along, and you know there's some certain changes to the way that we regulate medicines, and I'm quite worried about sort of bad actors doing this. So I'm mostly following this thing not to make money, but to protect myself and my family and those I care about from what will be created, because there's going to be a lot of crazy shit coming down the pipeline, and I think it's really important to track it because we don't really have the same institutions that we had before 2020 that kind of at least partly protected us from some of the negative outcomes of these technologies. Like that's gone. I don't think regulation is going to be the one, although I'm hopeful that Argentina and Javier Milei will think about regulation in the way that it needs to be thought about, which is uh, uh, there is some regulation that's needed. It's very minimal, but it needs to be intelligent, and it needs to be focused on promoting the good effects and protecting from the downside effects. The way that regulation in the United States currently works, under my opinion, is for important economic activities, is that it protects the shareholders of those companies from bad actions according to their selfish interest in terms of finance and power. I don't think it's doing its job of what I mentioned. And so I'm hopeful that Javier Milei might actually do it. And I'm going to try to get connected with his circle so that I can start to maybe give some expertise in this particular domain. And also I'm researching, there's 150 biotech companies down here in Argentina. So there's actually like a thriving biotech startup scene for the, I imagine, I haven't investigated this, but probably for the reasons you mentioned, which are it's a developing country with less regulation. And so they're probably doing things that benefit from that. Anything you want to talk about in what I just said?
Sure. I guess like so like I guess like for example when it's like develop like there's like 200 companies developing cures in like Argentina, it's like good because like I guess like for so like I guess most genetic illnesses or like illnesses just like one protein or
Yeah.
one metabolic thing is broken and you're like I guess immune system based off like how you just or like develop. And if you could like use genetic engineering to fix one of them, you could like fix like a lot of like illnesses that are currently like not fixable. So like the potential is like super high, but like also like the potential is like high, but like we have to like actually like mitigate one bad actor doing stuff like creating like a virus that has spread. So it's like a really hard problem to solve. But like the potential is like also high. So I don't think like we're gonna like abandon it. Like
Yeah.
and also like I was
Yeah.
like I was like so I think like germline like I guess I was like in Starbucks one time and then I overheard like someone speaking and they were like you know like CRISPR and like manipulating your genetics in the US is illegal. So like if you have money, you just like fly to another country and like get the cure.
Which is already
And like
happening. That's already happening. It's already there's a place in Honduras called Prospera. Like if you want the follistatin gene therapy, you just go fly down. If you got cash, go fly down to Honduras. You can do it. You can become a Superman now.
yeah.
But with what I imagine, I have not done the research myself. I encourage anybody listening to please do the research and let me know what you find out. But I have not done the research on follistatin gene therapy. There's one particular follistatin gene therapy that is now available. I imagine that not a lot of research has been done on it in terms of long-term studies, because how could you? It hasn't been around for very long.
Yeah.
And so yeah, what do you think about studies and science? The last 10 minutes or so. What do you think about scientific methods, scientific institutions, and like how to set up science, how to make sure that science isn't co-opted by bad actors? What's your thoughts on science?
Oh, so I guess like I was like actually like talking to someone this morning about this,
Sure.
the difference in science and technology. And
Yeah.
like science is about like discovering something that's like universally true. It's not like local independent or like conscious observer independent. So like two people could develop. So for example, Newton developed calculus and Leibniz this other calculus, but like they didn't like really talk to each other. And like the Navier-Stokes equation for like how like fluids work is it has been developed like two people independently. But in like science is about like trying to like develop theories about the world that's like true regardless of your location or like the person that's observing it. And technology is about like solving like constraints about like constraints that emerge because of like when evolution and emergence happens, it creates problems and solutions. So we'll like always need more new technology because like new problems come up and we need to solve it to like keep solving it. And I guess like for like the scientific method, I think like maybe 300 or 500 years ago, like you just like you have people that maybe were like in Oxford or like maybe Renaissance people that like wanted to like search something physical about the world that's true. But now I feel like it's like more about like postmodernism or like trying to like discover something, but
Deconstruct.
like yeah. And like now it's about like getting like peer review and stuff. I'm like, like just because like it's popular, it might not be
Oh,
true. Like just because like a lot of people agree with it, it might not be true. So like right now it's kind of like a weird age where we're like testing like postmodernism and like I don't maybe in social sciences it work, but like when you're doing like physics, engineering, and math, like it's like truth is not subjective in those
yeah,
domains.
yeah,
And other domains, it might be subjective because emergence happens. And you can't just be like, this is psychology, emergence happens in it, and I'm gonna neglect it because some part of like a lot of part of psychology is true, but just that like some ideas like when you go on a website and then it tells you chocolate is bad for you because a study says so, and then you go to the website's like chocolate is good for you.
yeah.
I'm like, I'm like, which
Is
one
that the
is
same
true?
science? Is that the same science?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this point you made about deconstructionism because that's what's happening. And for my listeners who don't know the history of sort of what is it called, postmodernist thought, and it's not like Jordan Peterson talks a lot about it, and Jordan Peterson is, I think, right directionally, but I think he also oversimplifies it, as many people do whenever they're speaking. So, we had, I think we can go back to the 1950s. In the 1950s, that's when big science finally created the nuclear bomb. Like that was because of government matching with science to create the nuclear bomb. And then actually even earlier than that, we can go back to the 1920s, probably 1930s, when Schrodinger and people started to realize that the behavior of electrons was quantum, i.e. that it was probabilistic rather than deterministic, which is what we thought the principles of the universe were deterministic laws. And so both of those things were just like the power of nuclear power and also the nuclear bomb scaring the shit out of everyone. And then at the same
Yeah.
time, quantum entanglement and quantum mechanics being like, this universe that you think was so stable is not actually as stable as you thought. It's getting pretty weird. Then you got the Marxists, and the Marxist, which like never went away, changed forms. Is always been, it's been there. A lot of people believe in this really bad idea, and a lot of those people happen to also be at universities. And so in the 1960s, with the rise of the new left, which was very anti-nuclear power, and the environmental movement and such, all kind of combined inside the universities and created our current system, which you accurately described is focused on deconstructionism. So it's not necessarily focused on constructing things. It's like the patriarchy is bad, third wave feminism is bad. I'm sorry, third wave feminism is great. Third wave feminism and Marxism and cultural relativism are the only important philosophies that we must pay attention to. And they have just put a napalm bomb inside of the universities, which are now focused on only on deconstructing. Really interesting point. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, like yeah, I like I agree with like what you said. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess like you got the timeline right. I was trying to like figure it out because like I don't know, like between like maybe 1950 and like 2000 something happened where like it used to be like science that's like empirical, independent, like independent of like the observer, but then
Yeah, yeah,
now
yep, yep.
like you need a peer review and like everyone needs to agree with you for it to be true. But like I guess like if you do like other form of like engineering that's like just like math or physics or maybe electrical engineering, you just like this has to be true regardless of like who's viewing it. But again, like I wouldn't like just say like so like I guess like in the future a lot of sciences that we're gonna see it emergence happens in it. So like for example, like if you're sick, it's because like one protein is like broken in your body. Like you could use something called like proteomics and then metabolomics in there. So it's basically like trying to like see like how the protein structure influences the muscle tissues and then influences like your whole like body immune system. And that's like holistic. So like you can't really use like
Yep.
reductionism to solve it. You
Yeah,
have to like
yeah, interesting.
and like that's like one thing that AI does well because like it has so much more data than us. So like that's why like I'm like optimistic about like biology stuff. But again, it's like complicated because emergence and like collective behavior happens there. There's I was studying like this a few weeks ago. There's something called like computational toxology, and it's basically like how when you're growing plants, how like toxins within like the soil influences like
Whoa.
yeah. So it influences like how pesticides influence like your immune system, stuff like that. It's like interesting, but like I feel like AI is like it'll be able to like help with stuff like that.
Brilliant. I'm gonna go research computational toxology. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. How can people find out more about you on LinkedIn, I suppose?
Yeah, you could find me on like LinkedIn or on Twitter, and like Twitter is like and then my last name Kpodar. I post like random stuff about like science and stuff that I'm learning there.
Great. I've always enjoyed your tweets. So thank you so much.
Thank you.